Jimmy Floyd Hasselbaink. After a prolific year in the red and white strip of Atletico Madrid, Chelsea welcomed the former Leeds marksman back to the Premier League in 2000, and he took no time to readjust. In his first season at the Bridge, the Dutchman stood out, winning the Premier League Golden Boot, having racked up 23 goals, a tally he repeated in the following campaign. Often wearing an intense expression on the pitch, Hasselbaink was made for scoring goals and was a classic number 9, not flashy, not elegant, but vicious in the face of goal. A mean sprinter, his bursting runs caused havoc, and his cannon of a right foot put away some memorable strikes for the Blues. Hasselbaink couldn't be contained on his day, and even if overshadowed by the number 9s of the Abramovich era, his numbers speak for themselves. Number 9. Nicolas Anelka. Whether you loved him as Super Nick or found him unbearable as the Incredible Sulk, there's no denying his potential to amaze. Returning to the Prem after his late 90s stint as the wonder kid of Arsenal, he initially struggled to settle, starting at Anfield before enjoying solid spells of form with Manchester City, and then Bolton Wanderers, where under Big Sam Allardyce the standout's reliable finishing for a mediocre team drew the attention of Chelsea. A quiet opening season was swiftly forgotten, as he picked up the Golden Boot for finding the back of the net a career-high 19 times. Sporting the iconic number 39, Anelka was a versatile, pacey and clever modern striker, with a signature celebration to boot, and though harassed by the media his entire English tenure, the nomadic centurion is remembered across Britain for much more than his brooding demeanour. Number 8. Michael Owen. Formerly England's golden boy, the 2000s saw him develop from an uncatchable teen to a more intelligent forward, as his injuries limited his powers. With predatory instincts enhanced and finishing even more clinical, Liverpool's homegrown star returned to his best at the turn of the century, leading the Scouse line to a cup treble in 2001, which earned the top scorer the Ballon d'Or, England's first in 22 years. Establishing a fruitful partnership with Emile Heskey, Owen enjoyed 3 more great years in the red shirt, as opportunistic as ever, and with an even broader range of finishes, while still able to speed his way out of the grasp of defenders. A Madrid pit stop and ensuing injury-plagued seasons in Newcastle have tarnished his legacy. However, by converting over 100 Premier League goals in this decade, Owen has earned his mention. Number 7. Alan Shearer. The Premier League's all-time record scorer was always going to take a spot, and despite the 2000s seeing his decline and then retirement, the Geordie hero couldn't stay off the score sheet. Lacking the pace of his Blackburn days or the Ginola calibre teammates to feed him, Shearer made do as more of a hold-up player, utilising his physicality to hold off markers and create space in behind. As ever, his heading was powerful and precise, while his efforts from range and in one-on-ones remained pure, controlled and reliable. The epitome of an old-school English centre-forward, the mid-90s prime of Shearer may have only been seen in glimpses during this decade, but his experience and knowledge of the league helped him extend his absurd sum to 260 goals by the time he hung up his boots in 06. Number 6. Fernando Torres. A cult hero of Anfield, El Niño's northern stint was short, but sweet. Aged 23, he flew to Britain with bags of La Liga experience and promptly set alight the English top flight, bolting through back lines with his electric sprints before making a fool of whichever goalkeeper stood in his way. Torres went from a promising starlet to a superstar in just a few weeks upon his debut for the Reds, encapsulating a complete modern striker capable of producing world-class skill at appropriate times while also standing at over 6 foot tall. His 47 goals from just over 2 seasons in this decade made the Nine one of the planet's deadliest marksmen, and though his reign over the BPL didn't last, Torres in his heyday was a player to fear. Number 5. Dennis Bergkamp. Not known necessarily for his scoring exploits, the number of goals weren't as key to his legacy as the way they went in. The non-flying Dutchman spent over a decade in England, only half of which was spent in the 21st century, but in his later years, the quality of the number 10 was still jaw-dropping, and his influence was invaluable to Arsenal during their pinnacle years. Transferred to Highbury in the mid-90s, Arsene Wenger built his side around Bergkamp, often deployed as a second striker to Ian Wright at first, Anelka next, and then, in the 2000s, he divided the front line with Thierry Henry, with whom he had a glorious partnership. His first-class touch, ingenious vision, and exemplary passing made the Gunners click for their dominant spell from 2001 to 04, a period in which they won 2 league titles and went unbeaten. Graceful, efficient, and nasty when needed, the Iceman embodied the justifiable arrogance of Arsenal, while also helping redefine what a Premier League striker could be. Number 4. Didier Drogba. To many, Chelsea's greatest ever striker, and perhaps the division's best big game player, the Ivorian was in and amongst the annual goal-scoring charts from 2004 all the way to his 2012 exit, but hit his peak during the tail end of the decade. One of the many refined and improved under Jose Mourinho, the Marseille marksman came to London in the same year as the Special One and was an instant hit at the Bridge. The spearhead of a transformed Chelsea, Drogba was ideal. Tall, strong, quick and hard-working, exuding power whenever near the ball. Linked telepathically to Lampard, their duo was pivotal to the domestic success of a side that bullied the competition between 2004 and 06, lifting Chelsea's first 2 Premier League titles back-to-back. Able to strike them from ridiculous range or cleverly apply the perfect finish inside the box, Drogba would be a good man to bet on, especially if you're placing them for a final. Many great names have narrowly missed out, but nevertheless deserve an honourable mention. Robbie Keane. A leader on and off the pitch, the energetic Irishman spent the entire decade in the Premier League, finding his best form at White Hart Lane, where he spent 5 seasons racking up 80 goals and endearing himself to the Lilywhites as a fan favourite, helped by his acrobatic celebration. Mark Viduka. A name that's alien to many, the towering Australian was a deadly marksman, built for the First Division, but having worn the strip of the underdog sides, his name has gone somewhat under the radar. Partnered with Harry Kewell, the Aussie pair were the danger men of Leeds United, an excellent watch at the turn of the century. Jermaine Defoe. A terrific and regular finisher, the diminutive Londoner began his top-flight career in 2000 and proceeded to become a legend of his hometown, who as of 2022 is the 9th all-time Premier League top scorer with 162 goals, over 80 of which were netted in the noughties, while leading the line for Spurs and Portsmouth. Number 3. Ruud van Nistelrooy. When it comes to scoring goals, there are few who can compete with United's number 10 from the early to mid-2000s. Breaking the 20-goal barrier for 4 of his 5 Man United seasons, the opportunistic Dutchman was a single-minded man, addicted to making the net ripple as much as possible. The English viewers saw the late 20s marksman at his most lethal, gifted with plenty of pace, the physique of a target man, and 2 feet sculpted for finishing. Any angle, any distance, any height, Van Nistelrooy would find a way to beat the keeper, and before long, if he was through, everyone already knew the outcome. Fantastic in the air also, he was the quintessential fox in the box, who was fueled by goals. Sometimes labelled as merely a poacher, and occasionally seen as selfish, Van Nistelrooy didn't care, as he was equipped with the mindset of a true champion whose job was to get on the score sheet by any means necessary. And given his 95 goals from 150 league games, his efficacy cannot be brought into question. Number 2. Wayne Rooney. In 2004, there wasn't a young player in world football as white-hot as the boy from Croxteth. The Evertonian was merely 16 by the time of his breakthrough wonder strike against the Invincibles that forced the hand of Sir Alex, putting the freckled teen on the path to the elite. Impassioned, occasionally to the point of aggression, Rooney worked tirelessly for the Red Devils, continually bagging goal of the season contenders, but also providing at an impressive rate as his adaptability was harnessed by the Scot, under whom he rapidly became one of the league's finest forwards. Apt as a playmaker, number 9 or winger, he fit every tactical system that Fergie could come up with. And given training alongside the likes of Paul Scholes and Ryan Giggs, the young Rooney developed into a monster who could outjump 6'2" centre-halves, knock 60-yard pinpoint passes and make 20+ goal contributions for 5 years in a row. Undoubtedly overshadowed by Cristiano Ronaldo in the 2000s since setting foot on Old Trafford, Rooney was a selfless star, sacrificing the personal heights for those of the team. So though he was never the planet's number 1, he is held in the highest regard by at least half of Manchester. Number 1. Thierry Henry. Surely a surprise to none, saying that he is the best Premier League striker of the noughties is actually selling TT short. The Frenchman spent the first half of the decade tormenting defences, combining brute force and graceful skill to demolish a team single-handedly. Converted by Wenger from a winger to a devastating centre-forward, Henry revolutionised the role of the number 9 under the influence of Ronaldo and Weah, his teenage idols, taking the ball from literally any area of the pitch and driving it into a central goal-scoring position. Excelling under the lights of Highbury, he reached the heights of a stellar career between the years of 2001 and 06, picking up 4 Golden Boots with at least 24 goals a season for 5 consecutive years, and to this day is the only player in Premier League history to convert over 20 himself, as well as assisting another 20 in the same year. That year of course being the aforementioned 2003-04 Invincible season, in which the King of North London was simply unplayable, owning the ground with a narcissism that put the fear of God into all who opposed him. Dubbed by the gaffer football's Michael Jordan, he could flip a game on its head and do so with awe-inspiring moments that immortalise the number 14 as Arsenal's greatest ever gunner. What are your thoughts on the list? Let me know your top 10s and favourite strikers from the 2000s in the comments below. Also, please like, subscribe and leave comments for future lists or other videos you'd like to see.